But I think the biggest brush with process was when I built an e-commerce store in Indonesia, because that's what you do when you're 25. And
Random.
The idea of staying in a stable job scared me more than leaving.
It took me a very long time to get my name out in the I mean, well, comparatively not long, because I've just been here for 19 months.
Well, I was going to say, you've only been here for 19 months, but not that very long. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of She's the Boss. In this series, I speak with fascinating, inspirational and motivational women in business and positions of leadership with the aim of inspiring, motivating, empowering and encouraging you who tune in to watch. If you haven't already done so, please make sure that you click the subscribe button so that you're the first person to know when I release a new video. And if you enjoy this video, please share it amongst your network. Please leave a comment if anything resonates with you, and please make sure that you hit that like button, because I really like to know if people are enjoying the conversations that we're having. So today I'm really excited to be joined by Mariya Ali, and as usual with a lot of the women that I interview, Mariya is a special individual with lots of talents. So I'm not going to try and introduce, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself. So Mariya, thank you for joining us. Please tell everybody who you are and what you do.
So I have recently launched a business with my friend, my school friend, and we really wanted our workplaces to be healthy. Since we, on the media, we hear so much about mental health issues within the workplace, a lot of anxiety and depression. And this is where our motivation really came from, is to, how do we make workplaces a healthy place to work in and provide a psychologically safe place for people to work. And I'm drawing on my background. I started as a social worker, so I got a degree in social work, and then built on that, learned a lot about attachment theory and providing a secure base for children in the family, and so I thought, okay, well, why don't I draw from this? Why don't I draw from that experience of working with children and providing a secure base into the workplace, because workplaces are another family, because we spend so much time in the workplace, and if leaders are fragmented, or if they are quick to criticize, then you see the fear amongst all the workers. All the employees are always scared of doing something or making a mistake. So that secure base, the psychological base, is not present. The soft skills that are needed, so that those parts are not primary anymore to the job. So that's one thing that we would like to draw on in our training. That's what we're talking about, is the empathy and compassion, the soft skills. So I also do inspirational speaking. It's just drawing from my childhood and what I went through, and then still able to turn those negatives into positives. And how did I, maybe someone else will be inspired with my story, and I have actually given a couple of talks. And people have said, oh, well, yeah, that was really inspiring. And so my aim is to inspire people to believe in themselves, find their purpose, and really trust in their dreams.
So, sounds fascinating. What is the name of your business? You haven't shared that with us yet.
It's called Butterfly Effect. And Butterfly Effect actually originates from the chaos theory that, a butterfly flutters its wings in one part of the world can create a hurricane in another part of the world. But it talks about little actions can create big impact. So taking little steps every day will create a bigger impact. So within an organization, if you are taking positive steps to make sure that everybody is listened to, or the leaders become more available, then you will see those impacts not just within your team, but it will spread across to the organization. So it's about taking small steps leading to bigger steps, or bigger impact rather.
Why start a business? Why not go and work in a HR department for an organization?
But because I am very creative, I'm very innovative, and sometimes the innovation, if it comes within the organization, it's really hard to implement. But if I am coming from the outside, with my skills and new ideas, then it will be easier. Sometimes it is easier. I mean, I have worked as well, and when a trainer comes in or a consultant comes in and they're expressing all these new ideas, you really open, and I can see the staff opening their eyes thinking, oh my God, this would really work. And you are open to that. And also it gives me flexibility within my work time, because I have a son, and I'd like to be present with him whilst he's growing up. So it gives me flexibility when I'm working for myself to organize the time.
And you said you worked before. Was there a period where you said, okay, by this day I'm going to stop working, I'm going to start a business, or was it something that happened more organically?
It was more organic. I was always thinking about doing something for myself. With the knowledge and experience that I have gained over the years, it's creating something new or innovative that could be better. I'm always thinking about a third way. There's this way and this way, but would there be a third way to do this more effectively? So it was always on the cards. But I was working for a charity for a long time, and unfortunately the charity hasn't been doing so well. So a lot of staff has been made redundant. So that was the reason why now I have been able to fully focus on the business.
If you hadn't been made redundant, do you think that you would have still continued working?
I would have still worked, continued to work, and then build the business alongside, because I am very passionate about children's rights and helping vulnerable children and women. So I enjoyed the project that I was involved in. So I would have definitely stayed, and I would have made it grow, because it was already growing quite a bit. So I would have stayed, and I would still continue to take on research projects, because I take on research projects for the UNICEF, Save the Children, and I continue to work with Oxford Brookes University as a fellow. So I continue to do research. So I would definitely would have continued.
And where does your passion for helping people come from?
It comes from my childhood. When I was 7 years old, in a very politically volatile country, my father was wrongly imprisoned for life, and because it was a dictatorship at the time, really there was no services for children, and my brother and I our voices weren't heard, and we were subjected to a lot of traumatic experiences from the neighborhood, and then also a country as a whole, with demonstrations and then the constant kind of people walking in and swearing at us or threatening my mum that they would burn us alive in the house. So go and save your children, and mom really was very young, and we were little. So the fear of growing in that environment really sort of said, okay, I've got to give a voice to children. I've got to give a voice to children who don't, who don't really get to say how scared they are, or they need this, they need love, or they don't have the words even to describe what they're going through. So that is where my passion comes from.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that experience and, well, yeah, the experience of living in that kind of, living through that trauma has made you resilient and equipped you with the tools to be able to deal with what sometimes can be a very traumatic experience running a business?
Definitely, because you become creative. And I remember mum not having any money really to buy us any toys, and we had to create toys. And I began to enjoy doing artwork. So I poured myself into artwork, and so that creativity then translates into any workplace that I go to. And then also you become really resourceful because you don't have anything. When you're little, if you don't have anything, you just become resourceful, to entertain yourself and also to, to play. So now it translates into wherever I work. So if there's limited resources, I will create it, I'll find it, or I will contact people and, get them to help. So it just becomes so resourceful. And even with this business, trying to build it from really zero and just drawing on people who can help. So, I've had family members help me design the logo and help me with the website. And friends also helping how to understand the social media platforms, how do we link all of that. So all these, I'm pretty resourceful that way. So just drawing on those skills that I learned very, very young.
And in terms of resilience and, I guess, strength of character, have you had situations as a woman in business, and not even just in business, but in your professional career, where the experiences you endured as a child has enabled you to not necessarily ignore, but rise above any negative comments or negative scenarios that you've experienced in your professional life, and especially as a woman and a woman of color? I don't think enough is discussed in regards to the negative impacts and psychologically of being a woman in the workforce, being a woman in business, and being a woman of color in both of those scenarios, and the kind of negative scenarios and situations that we potentially have to endure. And if you don't have that strength of character and resilience, you can stop before you even start. And obviously you haven't stopped before you start. And would you attribute the lessons learned as a young person? And obviously it wasn't a positive situation, but can you find positives in that?
Yeah, definitely. I have this very strong determination that nothing is impossible. We have to make it happen. And so in any scenario, so when I was working as a deputy minister for the Ministry of Health and Family in the Maldives, I had the mandate of child protection, gender, mental health, and so gender in a 100% Muslim country was always going to be tough. I mean, gender across the world is still an issue that we talk about, and so that was really difficult, because when I would walk into a meeting. Okay, so when I walked into meetings, people would say, "Oh my gosh, here comes gender." So, and whenever we would talk about gender issues, it would always be, we're sensitive, we're too emotional. So, so it was really tough. But at the same time, I think it really needs to start from where the other person's at. What do they think about relationships? how's culturally the gender issue, for instance, and really understanding where people are coming from has always helped me to negotiate or to convince people or to persuade whatever it was that we were trying to do. So, and not disrespecting. So sometimes issues when you start, say, political participation of women, that was a really difficult issue, especially in the Maldives, when domestic violence was still a big issue. There were clear gender roles, and on top of that, there were really strict understandings of how the religion explains the gender roles. So to operate in all that, you have to start from where people are at, and sometimes that might be you would have to drop down to a certain level and then work yourself up to political participation. So really, what are we thinking? What are we looking at? Political participation. Does it mean that women have, women are represented at a very high level? It also means that the community groups are where women are operating. How do we empower them first? How do we empower them at a family level so that they have the space, they have the confidence to then move up to that level? So I think that's, and not give up again, and just be persistent and work with, say, the religious leaders as well. For me, it was because I had done Islamic law at university for my postgraduate studies. I had a very good understanding of the gender relations and the issues that were coming up. So I was able to communicate with the State Minister for Islamic Affairs on these issues. So that he could then explain to me as well if I needed some clarification. So working with them. So all these kinds of skills really play an important part. So the softer skills, because it goes from building relationships and respecting other people's values and where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm. You're obviously quite well educated. How important do you think education has been in your pursuit of a more entrepreneurial career? Because there's always this, well, not always, but some people have the debate about whether to run a business, do you need to have a degree? And not necessarily even just a business degree, just a degree of any kind. And other people say that actually there's no benefit to it. I personally think that there is a benefit. Do you think that your education has impacted positively your business career and I guess your entrepreneurial pursuits?
Definitely, because when I first did social work, I remember everybody saying, "Why are you doing social work? You're very good at art. Why didn't you do designing?" But my heart was in helping people, and I did my social work degree in Australia, where 2 years focused on child development and interviewing skills, counseling skills. So it was very psychology based the first 2 years, and then the last 2 years was concentrated on social policy, social administration, and law. So it really provided a whole range of skills and knowledge that you can take to the next level. So then I decided I'm not going to do the psychology part. I'm going to do a more policy base. So that's when I did the policy, and then finally I did international human rights. So my sort of career progression was more towards policy and law. But then now looking back on what I've started and what I really want to do, that whole social work psychology part really has helped me. Mm-hmm. And it has helped me in my career throughout, because I remember in my second year of social work, we were placed in an agency to do counseling, but we had to also analyze team meetings. And I remember, why are we doing this? So every team meeting we had to write who was the lead, who was the leader, who was the information giver, who was the peacemaker, who was the person who was stirring up the meeting. So we had to analyze every single team meeting, and then present it at university. So this was, and sometimes, and from that process, I discovered, okay, this is a group process. Groups or teams always have leaders, and the leader might not be the elected leader. It could be someone else, and they take the leading role, and there'll be a peacemaker. There'll be all these different roles that people take. So that really helps, because once you've learned something and learned a skill, you can't, it's difficult to unless automatically when you're in a group meeting or a bigger meeting, you can see all these roles very clearly, and then it helps you help them, and also you can navigate yourself through the dynamics.
I think to take it back to the education piece, so I think what you're saying about transferable skills, I think people don't necessarily understand that education isn't always about what you're specifically being educated on. It's about transferable skills. It's about discipline. I did my undergrad was in media and communications, and now I'm a business consultant. You wouldn't necessarily see the correlation, but actually, even doing this, on my course, I had to present to camera a lot. So I'm used to doing that. I had to do radio production. So that taught me how to speak properly and clearly for audio. So it's about the transferable skills. And obviously you've explained how the skills you learn have translated into what you do. And I think that's a powerful thing. So going back to you had said at the beginning that you are a mother. And I know that a lot of the women that watch these videos are also mothers, and some are mothers that run businesses, and some are mothers that want to run businesses and don't think they can because they're a parent. How does being a mother impact, whether positively or, I don't like to say negatively, but making it more challenging in business? And how much did you consider how it would impact your son before you started your business?
He's really open to what I'm doing, which helps, but I don't think he fully understands what I do in terms of children's rights. But that aside, I usually wake up really early, so I wake up at 4 a.m. In the morning. So I have my self time, which it was only after reading this book by an author called Hal Elrod, and he talked about miracle mornings. So the mornings are a quiet time when you have a reflection time, meditation, prayer. So I spend time doing that in the morning, and then I prepare a list of things that I would do that day. So by the time my son wakes up, I've already completed a lot of tasks and had time for myself. And then I drop him at school, and if I'm working, then I would go straight from there to work, and then come back after work, and then get dinner ready, and then I try and go to bed the same time as he does, so that I have enough sleep, because sleep is important.
What time do you go to sleep?
About 9:30.
Oh, that's not bad to say that you wake up at 4. I go to bed about 10:30 and I still don't wake up till about after 7.
I think your body clock, I think, just gets used to waking up at that time and just running on that. But because I do a lot of the self, the development stuff, the meditation and prayer, and I also do yoga. So I think that kind of increases my energy levels, because you have to accumulate energy. You have to, once you start giving energy, and this is what I've seen as well in social work jobs, and doctors, they burn out. It's because because they're giving so much, and it's compassion as well. So empathy and compassion would be their number one field that they would possibly use. And it drains your energy levels. So it's very important to accumulate your energy if you're going to give it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what I've learned through my yoga instructor as well, that you have to build up your energy levels. So that's what I do, and I spend a lot of time with my son when he is back from school. So he sometimes would joke, well, how do you do all this? You know, you spend a lot of time with me when I'm here from at school. But yeah, so I do it when he is not around or not.
And how do you? It must take a lot of discipline, because my daughter is 3. And as I said, I can't wake up. Although this week I've been trying to wake up at 6:45 and having 15 minutes of peace and my time with God, and then sorting myself out and then getting her ready. And it's actually not been too bad. So I figure if I do it in 15-minute increments, maybe I can get to 6 o'clock by next year. But one of the things that I really struggle with is switching off at the end of the day. And because of the age that she's at, she's quite happy to just play around, and she doesn't really pay me too much attention. So sometimes I'll find myself going back to the computer, and I'd say, no, this is her time. You go and sit with her. How do you make sure that you don't do that?
Well, I mean, he's older definitely now, so it's easier. But when my son was young, it was very difficult. Because you have to, I mean, my mom was around quite a lot of the time to help. So he would be taken care of by her, and they would actually take care of him. So I would then get time to concentrate on what I was doing. When I did my PhD, my son was born in the middle of it. so that was actually quite a tough time, because when they're babies and toddlers, they need constant attention. So when you're doing a big piece of research and writing a big piece of a research document together, you need to concentrate and it needs to flow. And so I had to take 1.5 years off, and then I did it part-time. So that was, so you just have to find that time when they're sleeping, or when they're doing something else, or when they're at nursery. That's the time, and just stick into that, instead of saying, okay, well, I'll just spend the time watching a movie. Or I mean, I do spend some time watching movies or going out with friends, but I had to be very diligent especially when I was doing my PhD, to just say, okay, today I'm not going out. And I had to turn down certain social events just to concentrate on what I was doing.
And one of the things I always say about business is you have to be very disciplined. Doing a PhD, I also know, requires a lot of discipline. Are you a naturally disciplined person, or is it something that you've had to learn due to your circumstances? Do you think you can learn to be disciplined?
I had actually one of my aunts, my mum's aunt, lived with us for a little bit when I was growing up. And my mum sort of left it to her to because mum used to work as well. So my aunt primarily looked after us during that time. And literally, even holidays, she would have a timetable for us. So we would have half an hour to do this, or to get ready in the morning, have breakfast. So we grew up with this timetable, and I think it's sort of ingrained that I have to do this at this time and allocate these times to certain things. So that's carried on.
Thank you to your aunt for that. I just think it's so important. And I always try to say this to my clients: scheduling and having timetables, I just think is so important. And in lieu of being disciplined, naturally, having those timetables can, I guess, make you pretend to be disciplined. Poor phrasing, but if you know what you're supposed to be doing in these specific boxes, then just do that when you're supposed to, whether you want to or not. That's the time allocated, so do it then. And I think that there's so many experiences that we have as children that we don't necessarily even consider at the time, and we may not even consider now, but are influential in where we're at now and what we're doing now. So for you, it was having your aunt scheduling your life. For me, it was not having any schedule. And
we
not
really didn't like her though.
but this is the thing, at the time, yeah, it would be like, this is too much, but actually it stood you in good stead because now you're used to that. Whereas I had the reverse, that actually we didn't really have a time to do anything other than cleaning on a Saturday. That was something that we always had to do. And I didn't like the fact that it was just kind of, not that I didn't like it, but my parents, and not to badmouth them, but they weren't very good with time and timekeeping. And because of that, I am the complete opposite. And I have to, like, everything has to be on time and in its time, because I remember those feelings of embarrassment of showing up to events late or family functions later. We were always the last ones. And at the time, it was just irritating. Whereas now, as much as I still wish that I hadn't had to endure all of that embarrassment, actually it's helped, because now I am very punctual and I'm very organized with my time. So it's just, I always find it interesting to find out what experiences did you have as a child and how that's positively impacted you in business.
Yeah, but one thing also is actually quite important, because when you're a child, you don't really have that, your parents do have, and you have to have rules in the house, and that's just for running of the household. And, those are ground rules. Say, for instance, you have TV time allocated, and that will be the TV time. But then again, with some flexibility. But sometimes with really rigid times and rigid, parenting sometimes that I have seen, you tend to have shame associated with taking time off, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice that when I take time off, I feel a bit guilty sometimes. And that's something that I have to continuously work on. And it is a journey. We continuously work on certain, limiting beliefs or practices or habits that we've developed. So for me, taking that time off is sometimes I feel like I'm not doing anything. But I'm also a person who can work really fast and really quickly on things. So I would have that time that I'm not doing anything. Or another pattern is that when I read for a research or a project, I would read, and then, for 2 days, I would just not be able to work because my mind will be full of these. So I need 2 days to digest what I've done. And then third day, I would be down, and, that would be my productive time. So,
it's interesting, the thing about guilt. And I think it's something that especially people that start their own businesses, and obviously I'm not at the level of being a millionaire yet, and I would like to hope that at that point it goes. But when you're not where you want to be, any time where you're not working, it's like, oh my gosh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And it is a really hard thing to overcome. And in terms of taking time off, I think it's essential. And the example that you gave, I think, is a really good one, because I have friends that, well, I have to do this today, but it's taking me twice as long to do it than it normally would because I'm tired. And I'll go and have a nap, sleep. There's no point trying to do something if your brain is not in that headspace. And actually, you're going to waste time. And also, you're not going to produce your highest standard of work because your brain is not there. So rest and go back to it. I think that's really important.
And that's the subconscious programming that I touch on with my trainings, with the attachment theory and in the secure-based model. So attachment theory is really attachment patterns or your internal working mental models of resilience, trust, self-efficacy, am I lovable? That those type of beliefs are formed within the first 3 years of your life. So from baby to 3 years, and you don't even have the words to explain that this is your mental model that you're looking at the world through. So if you don't think I'm lovable or people are available for me, even though you don't necessarily think it consciously, that's what you are unconsciously projecting to the world. So I mean, these mental models are resistant to change, but because there's so many studies with neuroscience, and these models can be changed, but you have to work on that sort of subconscious level, subconscious programming to release these negative beliefs and subconscious programs.
Going back to the business specifically, what has been the highlight for you of running your own business?
It's the flexibility and creativity part that I'm really enjoying, trying to draw from different aspects that I've learned throughout the years, and the education, and drawing them and putting them together. Although it has been a challenge, because you have to package your product, and so that's been a challenge, but exciting at the same time.
What has been the most challenging part?
Social media, figuring out social media. And also even though I'm quite confident with doing academic work, and also translating academic work into understandable language, that's I'm learning. And obviously my business partner really helps as well. So we have quite exciting conversations when I'm trying to say something in a very academic way, and she's saying, I don't get it. And, and so it's that process has been very, very interesting, and challenging at the same time. And even though I'm confident in that kind of academic sort of arena and work, putting myself on YouTube today, for instance, talking to you, and also hopefully starting our own YouTube series that we're actually preparing for now, is another step towards, okay, but it's okay to be seen, it's okay to be on social media. So that's the part that I had to really sort of mentally prepare, and look at my own beliefs, where it was holding me back and what was holding me back.
What was holding you back? What makes you uncomfortable with putting yourself out there, like visually?
I think a lot of people have that fear of being criticized, and I think my fear just goes back to my childhood when Dad was in jail, and the demonstrations and the kind of obscenities that we were hearing, and you just you were so scared at that point that fear always creeps up. But I mean, again, it's a process, and I am now very aware that there is going to be criticism, because not everyone's going to like what you're doing, and coming to that space where I've accepted that, and also meeting them at their level, and understanding them at that, and accepting, and social work has prepared me for that, really, is to be non-judgmental. I mean, many clients that I've met have just been angry or sad or crying, and you still work with them, and then when you see them work through that anger and get to the other side, it's the most amazing experience. So
Well, if it makes you feel better, I've been doing my YouTube channel for a year now, and I don't have huge engagement, but I haven't had any negative comments yet. So if that makes you feel a little bit better.
well,
Not every person puts out YouTube and gets abuse.
no, definitely not. And that's that would be something. Well, unless I start, it's not gonna. We're not gonna know what. Yeah. So.
3 pieces of advice you'd give to a woman wanting to go into business for herself.
Finding your purpose in life. I think that was the number one thing for me, was, what am I here for? What, and ultimately, you once you find out, your passion will take you to where you want to go, and believe in yourself that you have the strength within you, and also that you are one unique person and no one else in the world is like you. There might be similar programs out there, but they've not been through what you've been through in life, and not had the education that you've had, or and you will deliver whatever you had to deliver in your own way, and that would help many people. So and be persistent and persevere.
Definitely. Great. If people want to find out a little bit more about you and your business, where can they find information?
Well, they can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and our website.
That's the
butterfly-effectguru.com.
So it's, if you say it again,
butterfly-effectguru.com.
Okay, great stuff. Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. I've really enjoyed our conversation. And if you've enjoyed the conversation, please write a comment, please like, and please share in your network. And if you're interested in being interviewed for She's the Boss, please do email me or drop me a message in the comment box and I can get in touch with you. And also, if you haven't already connected with me on LinkedIn, you can find me there, Daniela Genus. Thanks for watching.